Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sammy, United People's TV. It's Tuesday. We've got Fenerbahce. It's not Fenerbahce. It's Fenerbahce. Coming up on Thursday at 8 p.m. My starting 11 video will go out tomorrow. We'll have a little conversation about it later. Obviously, no Bruno. Who will United play in his place? You can have your say. We'll also speak about Lenny Yoro returning to individual training on the grass, stepping up his recovery program. Good. I'm looking forward to seeing him coming into the team. We'll also speak about Dalot, Malacia, Anthony, Manchester United's coaching staff, Old Trafford, what's going on there in terms of the announcement, the latest on that. And you can let me know what you think in the comments below. Should be a busy show. Let me see who's here. Good morning to everyone for tuning in. Larry, good morning to you. Carl, you're there too. We've got Josh, and good morning to all the mods. Keeping it hopefully slightly civil in the comments. Stephanie, James, John, and Teresa, good morning to all of you. Pete, Craig, and Matthew Baker. How you doing? On Facebook, we've got Yusuf, we've got Jacob, we've got Stephen Lawrence, and Josie Graydon. Good morning to all of you. Right. As always, please fire in your comments, your questions throughout the show. I will try and interact with as many of you as I possibly can. Let's go. Now, I'm going to start the show here with some real bombshell news. So I hope you all sit down because this is, I can't believe this. I'm shocked and I'm staggered that there might have been some sort of Saudi Arabian involvement in the takeover of Newcastle. Honestly, everything I thought I knew it's just gone out the window. Not. I mean, come on. It is. Deary me. All right. If you see, I think I spoke about this story earlier this week because I spotted it in the back pages, but now it's actually come out as an article. Newcastle Saudi Arabian takeover could be re-examined by MPs in the wake of WhatsApp leaks. Now, another bombshell moment for you here. The government may have lied. I know. Unbelievable. WhatsApp sent by Stavely suggests that Mohammed bin Salman, the de facto Saudi ruler, was signing off key decisions within the takeover, while Lord Grimstone, appropriately named, then Minister for Investment in the UK, pushed behind the scenes for the deal to be approved. Yawn. I've said this before. During the takeover, I tried my best. I probably didn't do it that well, to be honest. I tried my best to stay on the fence. I tried my best to see both points of view. It's people that wanted to support a Qatari-backed takeover, and people who wanted to support Ineos, and then the whole situation came out. Hey, let's not go back into it. But I'm so glad that we didn't get taken over by. There's no links between. Can't remember what his name was now. What was his name? Sheikh Jassim. That was it. There was no link between Sheikh Jassim and the Qatari government. Okay. Anyway, I'd love to see this all come collapsing down, but I mean it's a little bit too late because you've already let City in the door. It's a shame. Newcastle fans will feel annoyed that people are coming after them. Shouldn't have backed it so much then. Anyway, I hope it all collapses and I hope Newcastle disappear. Good. Anyway, let's move on to some good news. Jonathan saying I didn't do it that well. Yeah, I know I didn't do it that well. I tried my best. I did. But yeah, there was always a part of me that was fundamentally against it. So I'm glad that the United aren't in these conversations. Right? Now let's move on to some good news. Some really good news. All right? Leny Yoro. I think, what was it, about 2-3 weeks ago, I was saying, no, kind of a penny for Lenny Yoro's thoughts, man. He came into Manchester United, and I think that was the... You can correct me if I'm wrong, and let me know what you think about it. But for me, Yoro was this... If there was a statement signing this summer, I think it was Leny Yoro. Not because he's like a world-class player. Like he is obviously top level. That's why Real Madrid was sniffing around him. But I think the statement of Leny Yoro choosing Manchester United, I think the fact that he chose Man United is a place where he feels that he can develop right now in his career because he's 18. He's got lots of development to do. Yeah, I think that was quite a statement signing for how players perceive Manchester United. And then, of course, he did his metatarsal against Arsenal in the pre-season. Great. Fantastic news. He has been working hard, and he is now back on the grass and training. This is a little video that he put out on his own Instagram. This is actually on Manchester United. A little video from Instagram. I'm excited to see him in the team. Now, my personal feeling around Leny Yoro is I would rather see him probably make his United debut after the next international break. So in December. Well, towards the end of November, right? You could bring him back. There are 6 games left now until the next international break. I hate to say that to you. Why do I have to say that? Anyway, there's 6 games left until the next international break. I don't see the point of Yoro coming in before those. Why risk anything? But I'm very much looking forward to seeing him playing for United. I'll go down here and read a few of your comments. He was in the Rondos last week too, was he? I'd be surprised if Leny Yoro was involved in that sort of training. Yeah, I think this is just individual training on the grass. Pyro saying, love the fact that we got Lenny, but let's be real. If Madrid wanted him, they could have got him. They were just too arrogant in thinking he would wait for them. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that sentence. But they were arrogant. They did underplay it, and United took advantage. That's the game of football transfers. Because football transfers are a bit of a game. And United have been crap at that game for a long time. Now, there's going to be people that are saying that we overpaid for Leny Yoro, but if in 3-4 years' time he's still at Manchester United and he's still a top-level player, there is not one person who's going to be saying that that price was overpaid. We need to outlaw these breaks. I understand that some international breaks need to exist, but 3 in 3 consecutive months, it just feels like overkill. Like, get rid of the one in the middle or something like that. I don't know. Leny Yoro had no choice, otherwise he would have been benched. Every player's got a choice, man. Every player's got a choice. Now, what I would say about that is this. And you know full well that hey, look, I've not given up on Luke Shaw. That's the wrong way to describe it. I've been burned too many times to put any hope or expectation against the return of Luke Shaw. That's where I'm at. If he comes into Manchester United and returns, sod knows when he's going to return. Leny Yoro might well have done his metatarsal in pre-season and then come back still before Luke Shaw does. And I think, truth be told, with Luke, the fact that he was fit enough to play for England in the Euro 2024 final and has yet to kick a ball for Manchester United is something that pissed off a lot of United fans. You're thinking, well, you're going to make yourself fit for England, but you're not going to make yourself fit for United. And I personally think that didn't do him many favours with the fan base. And as I said, I think we've been burned. He's been burned. Unfortunately for Luke Shaw, he's going to look back in his career and just be one of those players. You can have Phil Jones into that category, and there are countless others. Players that had such an incredible amount of talent, and injuries just changed their career. I remember that season. That season at the start, when we signed Memphis Depay underneath Van Gaal. Was it 2015? I think it was. And we had Luke Shaw and Memphis down the left-hand side. I remember the start of that season, I was like, oh man, our left flank looks as good as it has looked for a long old time. That partnership was flourishing. But yeah. Great news, exciting news that Leny Yoro is back on the grass. And my personal opinion is that we shouldn't in any way, shape or form rush him back. But conversely, Luke Shaw I mean, Erik ten Hag has said that Shaw's closing in on his return. My prediction is that we'll see Malacia before we see Luke Shaw. Fair. Kang, you saying I think everyone's given up on Shaw now? As I said, I haven't given up on him. I've just given up. I've given up hoping that Shaw coming back is going to solve our problems on the left. I don't think that's the reality anymore. I think Luke Shaw could come back in and be a very good left back for us for the 4, 5, 6 games that he'll be available, and then he'll be unavailable again. And that's what will happen. I'd be beyond surprised if Luke Shaw comes back this season and then just stays fit for the rest of the season. And his availability is great. And he's top class. That'd be great if that happened, but I just do not see it happening. We've not had a recognised left back since we had Reguilon, says Carlos. Look, let's speak about... And I think I've spoken about this before, right? I don't think Malacia has been sort of not trying. I don't think Malacia has been taking the piss. I think he's just got dealt a really, really crap hand. From the original injury, knee injury, and the surgery that he had that was botched, and then had to have more surgery on said botched surgery, and then had another flare-up towards the end of last season. I mean, it must be... Look, Diogo Dalot was speaking about it, right? And speaking about him. And sort of, you know, that video that came out when it was Malacia going through the tunnel, everyone welcoming him back into training. And some might have said that was over the top, but that was just the United players recognising, I suppose, how bad the injury was, how long the rehab has been, and how mentally tough it must have been for Malacia. And I suppose that I can sympathise probably a bit more than most of you can, because I'm now over 8 months into my rehab on my ankle, and I still can't run. Let alone being someone like Malacia, who's an elite level athlete. Your job is literally to play football and you can't move. It must be mentally frustrating, beyond belief, to be in that situation. But yeah, I would expect to see Malacia back before we see Luke Shaw back. And by the looks of it, you might see Leny Yoro back before you see Luke Shaw back. Hey, let me see what we're saying down here. If Shaw is not going to be fit, is Alvaro buyback a real thing? Ravi, Alvaro buyback is absolutely a real thing. Reports suggest that it's a very good price as well. And that might have just been Manchester United's strategy. We can't develop all these young players here. We could hoard them and loan them out, but that's not really going to work for us. How about we sell them, put in a buyback clause that exists for the next 2 to 3 seasons, protects us. If that player really develops like Alvaro Fernandez has developed, then we can bring him back to the club as a better player, far more mature, developed, and we probably haven't had to pay that much for it. I've seen reports suggesting that the buyback would be sort of 20 million euros or less. Either way, could well work. You might see there has to be an overhaul in the left side of defence this summer. I think if there's going to be one player who's given another chance out of Luke Shaw and Malacia, I would personally predict it would be Malacia, but we don't really know that until he comes back in, right? But we definitely need left back in the summer, as well as some other signings. And yeah, I'm just going to have a little conversation here about signings. So I want to have a conversation about Eriksen. Timothy saying, what exactly is wrong with Malacia? I believe it was his left knee or was his right knee? Not sure which one it was. But it was a whole host. I think it was meniscus. Was it ligaments? I can't tell you exactly what it was. I know it was a knee injury. I know he had surgery on said knee injury. And that surgery didn't work. So then he had to have more surgery on that injury that he'd already had surgery on. So double surgery on the same knee. Whew. It's bad. It's really bad. Do we think we'll go back in for Branthwaite, says MA? Yep. Absolutely think we'll go back in for Branthwaite. And I remember at the start of the summer, you looked at it, it wasn't rocket science to say, look, if I'm Everton and I'm looking at a summer where I need to sell some players, I'm probably going to be selling Onana before I'm selling Branthwaite, because Branthwaite probably will only just go up in value. I don't know whether Branthwaite will go up in value, but, well, Everton are in another relegation scrap. I hope they get relegated, man. I'm sitting there in the relegation, just teetering on the edge for like 3 seasons. Right. Eriksen, right? Going to be a free agent in the summer, and Fabrizio's reporting this, right? No contacts are ongoing between United's board and Eriksen over a new deal currently. The contract expires in June, and it's likely that he leaves for free. Right? Alex, you're saying down there, you tweeted about Eriksen and Casemiro. That was yesterday. And I said this. I said, Eriksen absolutely should be leaving in the summer. It should be a handshake, a thank you, and a goodbye. And the same goes for Casemiro. Now, in a dream world, Manchester United would have had the funds and the ability to do all of that this summer. But truth be told, there is a limit on how... I think West Ham is a good example of this, right? Very good example of this, really. You looked at West Ham this summer and you said, I think everybody agreed, West Ham won the summer, man. They got Max Kilman, Jean-Claire Todibo, and I don't know who else they signed, but they signed bloody loads of players. Did they sign Füllkrug? I can't remember. Anyway, it looked like West Ham had won the window. Now West Ham are in a relegation scrap, currently in their form. Because they signed so many players. And when you sign so many players in one summer, it kind of is hard to make them all gel at the same time. I reckon probably the sweet spot is probably 4 to 5. I think, like, if you imagine, like, you sign 4 to 5 players that are like absolute top level starter quality, I think you can probably coach and have the ability to integrate them all into your team. But if you go more than that, you get a struggle, and I think that's what's happening at West Ham right now. So my point here is that in an ideal world, maybe Eriksen and Casemiro could have gone last summer, but next summer, I think is going to be when the midfield overhaul comes, right? And I think Manchester United, look, the summer just gone, we went big on 2 centre-backs. Remember when David Ornstein said Manchester United looking at Dalot, and I'm just going back to the summer, Man United looking at Dalot and looking at Yoro, and they'll choose between one of the two. We got both. And I'm convinced that if Dalot stays fit, that he will become a player that United fans grow to love. Like, I really, really do think he is captain material. I mean, he is captain material. He was captain of Ajax when he was 19. I don't need to tell you that he's captain material. He's a very good player. And, well, we've seen it in certain games. Certainly saw it against Southampton, where he won man of the match. I think he was actually pretty good against Liverpool. Crystal Palace, I thought he was decent as well. And that game against Brentford, he was very good. And then we also got Leny Yoro. So this summer, I want to see Manchester United having the same energy towards our midfield, right? It should be Eriksen, handshake, thank you so much. Good luck in whatever you do next. And Eriksen will leave with fond memories. And certainly been an impactful free signing. Can't argue with that. Casemiro should be shipped up. Not shipped off. Same thing with Casemiro. Handshake, thank you so much. This is a time when Manchester United need to re-energise our midfield with some younger signings. Thank you for what you've done. Good luck elsewhere in the twilight of your career. So that's Eriksen and Casemiro gone. And it's like, remove your sentiment. I don't even think you need to remove sentiment. It's really, really logical. Really, really logical. That Eriksen needs to leave and Carragher? That would be like a weird face swap. That Eriksen and Casemiro need to leave, and United need 2 big midfield signings. My first thing that I want in a midfield signing is just somebody who's like physically dominant. That's what I want. Thomas, you're saying I disagree. Eriksen's great for the squad. It's not just about young blood. You need a balance of both. No. This summer is when Eriksen moves on. Ugarte, of course, we've got him there. People are going to be talking about Angel Gomez. Now, Angel Gomez, I think, could well be a very good squad midfield signing, but I'm not looking at Angel Gomez going, oh, that's going to be the power forward, because it's the opposite of him. He's a deep-lying playmaker, diminutive stature. I wanted Amadou Onana in the summer. That type of midfielder is the type of midfielder I'm again looking for, first and foremost, this summer coming up. Doesn't mean that they need to be like 6'4". I just want a damn athlete. I want an athlete. I want somebody who just looks like he can cover 30, 40 yards just in like blink of an eye. That's what I want. So in my opinion, there should be two big central midfield signings. In the same way, there were two big centre-back signings in the summer. So I think. Carlos saying, thoughts on Xerxes so far? I'll speak about Xerxes a little bit later. There's no point really talking about names. Jonathan, you're shouting at Beretta down there. Is that Beretta? Is that Inter? Beretta? He is. Also. But look, let's move on to, one more little conversation around transfers where we speak about Hojlund and we speak about Xerxes, Bruno, coaches. Lots more coming. Drop a like on the video. This story came out from... This is coming from Mike Vervige from The Telegraph on their podcast, right? And the suggestion here that Ajax are discussing the possibility of Antony going back. Now, in his first season, I defended Antony plenty, and I will always do that in a player in their first season. I will always sort of try and reduce the noise around them and say, well, it's his first season. We know how difficult it is as a Manchester United player, and there are very few players who come in and just have a barnstorming first season. Very few. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very few. Antony wasn't the greatest in his first season, but he actually had a decent goal and assist return. And then the second season, disappeared. Absolutely disappeared. And the third season has just been a continuation of the invisibility, I suppose. And Antony's... You remember there was a point where people were trying to suggest that Antony was favoured by Erik ten Hag. Oh my God, I can't believe how much he's disrespecting the other player. Blah 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 blah. I think it's fair to say that Antony's not favoured anymore. Someone down there, Aiden, you're saying it's one of the worst signings ever. I think it is going to be remembered as the worst signing under Erik ten Hag, no matter how many more signings come next. Such a misappropriation of money. Unfortunately, I think it's Antony and Mount are going to be the two that are remembered as the misappropriation of cash. Like 140 million there. That should be 3, if not 4, top-class signings that really have an impact on the quality of your team and squad. Ryan saying never going to be able to live up to the price tag. I feel for him to some extent as he didn't choose the fee. Of course, Matt. Do you remember that summer how much United got played? We got played. That was the summer where we were linked with Antony early doors, and then it was like, nah, we're not going to go back after him. And Ten Hag was looking at Martinez instead. And then the summer went on, and then the rumours kind of went a little bit quiet. And then we lost against Brighton and Brentford. Was it Brighton and Brentford? It was Brentford. It was a full bloody nil. Then all the reports came back, and then we offered 50. No. All right, 60. No. Okay, well, I'm not going to go. All right, 70. No. Oh, for goodness sake. All right, fine, 82. Man, it was the dumbest. Ajax must genuinely have been laughing at John Murtough. Who was it? Matt Judge, I'm guessing, was involved in that. Boy. That's the sort of signing that gets you sacked if you were part of negotiations. But anyway, I think Antony leaves in the summer. I don't think we're going to get much back for him. Honest to God, put it in the comments, all right? What do you think is a fee that United could reasonably try to get for Antony in the summer? We paid, what, 82 million? I think United would like to get north of 20 mil, but I don't know. I have no idea. John, you're saying 30 mil. Aidan saying 15 mil. 30 mil easy, says Dudley. 20 to 30 says Gus. 20 says Aaron. 40 to 50 says Farah. 25 max. Well, let's just quickly check this because I'll be interested to know this. Right. What do you think? Right, one sec. Okay, that's an interesting little story coming out right there. What do you think is Ajax's record signing? Was it Sebastian Haller? And how much do you think it was? Sebastian Haller was third on the all-time list. A defender was second. And a left winger was first. Let me see who you think it was. Oh, Baz, you know. It was indeed. Steven Bergwijn. 31 million signed from Spurs. Is Antony 24 now? Antony. Oh, he's bang on the same age. So maybe you're right. Maybe around that 30 million euros mark might well be what United could try and get for him. Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know. Either way, I think Antony goes in the summer. And Man United are going to have to accept a big old loss on him. Let's move on. There's no way that he should be a Manchester United player. Jerry, you're saying he's young still, so there's potential, but maximum 30. Yeah. Yeah. Max 30 mil. I think if United could try it, maybe the United would. No, I don't know. 30 mil. Right? Let's find out. Let's move on to the next thing. 1 second. Here, a little story came up. What's this? No, that's irrelevant. Right. Let's move on to this. Okay? Because Rasmus Halland made his third start, I think. Third start for Manchester United of the season against Brentford at the weekend. And it was really good performance. I think in the first half, he was getting beaten by Ethan Pinnock, who was, it felt like he was going a little bit too close to him. I already spoke about this positioning, this giving yourself that space, that separation between defender and attacker that you can use to then spin off them. That's what he did in the second half. And it was a really, really, really good performance from him in that second half, to the point where even Jamie Carragher's praising him. He was speaking on Monday Night Football last night. He said, look, Hojlund, he goes, I think he's starting to look like a player. I was really impressed with him a couple of weeks ago away in Porto. He put in a real shift in, and he was outstanding again on the weekend. And I don't think, and again, this isn't rocket science, we all know how much we have missed having an actual presence up front. But partly, the reason that he played well against Brentford wasn't just the fact that he was playing the hold-up role quite well against Ethan Pinnock and spinning his defenders and running into space. It was actually because Hojlund was dropping deeper quite a few times. And by doing that, he pulled the centre-backs away. And by doing that, it allowed more space for Garnacho to sort of find those runs in behind. I imagine if you were to look back at the goal that Garnacho scored, it was probably Hojlund dropping a little bit deeper. And I think Casemiro was making an extra run. All of that drew the attention away from the defenders that allowed space for Garnacho to... It's such an intangible of football. How much just working off the ball and moving occupies defenders' attentions so that players who end up scoring goals and getting opportunities have space to run into. The creation of space simply by movement elsewhere. And I think that's what Hojlund did really well in that second half. And we've missed him. Right? We've missed him. I'm going to see what you're saying down here. Carragher reading off a teleprompter. Ravi saying, Carragher said United played like the old times with a bullish mentality and scoring good goals. It's what it felt like in that second half. It's what it felt like. And Chris, you're speaking about Xerxes. I'll speak about Xerxes next. Carragher is growing soft. I don't know. Does Neville do Monday Night Football anymore? Or has he completely left that? Ross, you're saying, what's that? Hojlund could learn a lot from not just Rude, but Cavani's movement. Man, Cavani always... This was one of the things when we did our scout report, I remember it, from Hojlund when we came in, said, honestly, probably the best part of his game naturally is his movement. There was one specific goal that I remember him scoring for Atalanta, where he went on the front foot, then went on the back foot, so the defender came back, and then he burst straight into that space. And by doing that and creating the half the yard, he was able to get that toe in and score a goal. We have missed having Hojlund up front, for sure. And it's not just the goals that he brings, but I think he's growing as a presence. And remember, he scored 16 goals in his first season, which by any accounts is a good first season for Manchester United, let alone somebody who came in with the expectation of just being Manchester United's sole striker at the age that he was with the experience that he has. David saying Hojlund doesn't get enough service. We've known that's a big old problem. But it feels like United are making a little bit more out of the wingers. Because if you look at how many goals we've scored, but not really, right? It must be only a handful of goals have actually been scored by strikers. From De Ligt and Garnacho and Rashford. And I think Bruno's he scored one or two. Anyway, speaking of Bruno, let's move on to that as the next talking point. Actually, that was a video I did yesterday, and I said the second half against Brentford was great. The first half was probably better than I gave it credit for, but it was still frustrating. It was a slower tempo, and it was the increased tempo that really made the second half stand out for me, and obviously the quality of the two goals. But I said, there's no more room for roller coasters for Erik ten Hag anymore. There's no more room for playing a really good game against Brentford overall and then going to Fenerbahce and just playing chaos ball. There's no room for that anymore. There has to be a consistency in the performance and the results will follow. Alex, you're saying down there that Hojlund had twice as many touches on Saturday compared to any other game this season. Yeah, we played it into his feet a lot more. But the consistency has to come. And it has to be against Fenerbahce and West Ham. And look, Fenerbahce, let's speak about it. Because there's one big difference that's going to be made in this game, and that's no Bruno Fernandes. Now, fire it in the comments what you would like to see. And I'll answer some of them out. Read some more of your comments down there. Treasy saying Garnacho's a touch selfish at times. I think that's the same with pretty much every winger in world football. If I'm being any top level winger. And that's because Garnacho came through the youth teams and he was the big fish in the small pond. And there's still parts of it that subconsciously you are that greedy youngster. Because he is still young. And I still think that has to develop in time. But he has got a few assists. I think he's got 8 goal involvements in his first 12 appearances this season. It's a lot more. But Bruno's going to be missing, right? So what do you want to see? I'm going to read some of your comments out down here. Jordan, you're saying Hojlund and Xerxes are front two. Chris, you're saying the same thing. Kang, you're saying Eriksen, Ugarte, and Xerxes. Lisa saying Eriksen is the number 10. Jonathan saying Xerxes behind Hojlund. Quite a few of you are saying it. And I think this... Xerxes' best moments so far in a Manchester United shirt, in my opinion, have been when he's in a facilitator role. Kind of how Hojlund operated a fair amount in the Brentford game. When he's got his backs to the defenders, holds it off with the ball, holds the ball and just like feeds it off to another player. Probably Xerxes away at Crystal Palace was a really good example of him being a playmaker. Created chances, dropped deep. And that's very good. However, he's the last couple of games, he's looked really, really heavy is the way I would describe him. Really does. Like his first touch, which I thought was pretty good in the first few games, has become very heavy. Him covering the ground looks very heavy. Don't know if it's just the pace of it. I don't know what it is with Xerxes. But as much as he's had some positives, he does look slow right now. But at some point this season, I would like to see Xerxes and Hojlund in the same team together. Now, if you played Xerxes, hypothetically, you played Xerxes against Fenerbahce, you then allow Hojlund to operate a bit further up, while Xerxes can also do that hold-up play quite well. Probably more naturally, I think, than Hojlund can. But Hojlund is also good at that. It's going to be interesting to see what Erik ten Hag does. And I think Eriksen is a number 10 as an option. See some of you down there in comments saying Ahmad maybe in the number 10. Mate, we're playing Fenerbahce away from home in the Europa League. It's going to be intense. We know that. All right. Last time we went to Istanbul, we were 2-0 up and it felt great. And then our asses fell out, as it always does. Was it a penalty we gave away first? I think it was. I can't remember. But yeah, you may well see Xerxes get a chance in that number 10 role. Let me see what I was saying in the comments. Do you think Ahmad number 10? Ahmad could work. There's options. There are options. Eriksen is another option there, I'll be honest. Yeah, Chris, that's kind of partly the reason I'm excited about the idea of Xerxes in the playmaker role. I think that Xerxes and Hojlund could really play off each other quite well. And United would certainly have a physical presence up there. And maybe in a game like this, away from home in Europe, against Fenerbahce, that physical presence will give United an outlet. Would allow United to not just knock it long, but play it into two of our big, powerful strikers, and then tee those off to you. It may well be that 4-2-4 shape works really well. The one we used against City in the FA Cup final. We got Garnacho on the left-hand side, or Rashford, wherever it is. Garnacho, and then you've got Hojlund and Xerxes as your main two. And then you've got Garnacho or Rashford on the right-hand side. And then you've got probably a midfield two of Ugarte and I imagine Eriksen. Ugarte's got to start this game. We're definitely going to need his energy. But it might be that 4-2-4, which not everyone loves. I think in a game like this, it could well work. Options. I'll run through my starting 11 tomorrow, though. Right, let's move on to an important talking point. All right, a little bit of an update on the new stadium. Man United have been holding... Anybody who was, I think, a member or a season ticket holder, were all sent a survey form. Took about 15 minutes to fill out. I shared the link with you here a few weeks ago. That's a survey that's been conducted by Manchester United to try and get fan opinion on what's going on. I've also spoken to the fan forum, and I'm just going to bring you some comments here from Rick, United's Director of Fan Engagement. Is it Rick McGar? Rick McGar? I'm going to go Rick McGar. Probably not. Anyway, and he's just explaining what the process is right now and where we're heading. He said that work is well underway for the first phase of fan consultation on the Old Trafford regeneration project. We had a huge response to the fan survey, which I just spoke about here, but it's down here. The week after next, we start the qualitative stage of the research with a series of fan focus groups. These sessions will be attended by fan representatives. I don't care about an M6 crash, including people from this forum. And that will help us to further understand fans' views on important topics such as accessibility, affordability, heritage atmosphere, women's team, and a matchday experience. And then this one's quite interesting, I thought. We will then facilitate town hall style sessions at Old Trafford in November to give fans another chance to share their views. So in November at Old Trafford, there's going to be, I don't know how you get an invite. I don't know who gets invited. But the town hall style sessions presumably will be 3, 4, 5 people sitting on stage. Everyone in the crowd can sit there, put your hand up, and you can say the question that you want to say. And after all of this, the findings from the fan consultation will then be shared with the task force ahead of their recommendation report to the owners. So fan input is going to be a key component. I don't think it's going to make the decision, but it's certainly going to be included in the whole decision process. Whether from all the town meetings, whether from the... Now, look, the town hall meetings at Old Trafford may well be season ticket holders only, Jonathan. But from the big fan survey that they've already done, you had to write on it whether you were a United member or a season ticket holder, like what you were, so they can split those data groups down. So they're going to have opinions from season ticket holders. They're going to have opinions from members around the world. They're going to have all these different fan groups and be able to understand the different opinions among all of them. But just an interesting one. There's going to be town hall meetings, style meetings at Old Trafford in November, following on from the fan survey. And after all of that, that's when we're going to be hearing the recommendation. Now, my personal prediction is that it's going to be a new stadium and a complete regeneration project. I think even if there wasn't a new stadium, I think the whole regeneration project is going to happen. Because it's not just Manchester United that want it, it's Trafford Council. They've already got all the plans laid out. It's like tying two projects together. Obviously, United, with a new stadium being the centrepiece of it, that would drive that whole area with new jobs, everything there. But yeah, I still think around about December time is when we're going to hear from it. But in November, there's going to be some more fan meetings and fan groups that can have their say. Right. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Annie, you're saying these new young midfielders are athletes, not footballers, and I hate it. Once upon a time, you could be a piggy footballer. You could have a little beer gut. You could have little bits that wobble. And you'd still be elite in the Premier League. Nah, not so much now. You've got to be an athlete. You've got to be shredded. You've got to be an athlete just as much as you have to be a good footballer. And that's why the game's got so much faster. That's probably why more injuries exist. It's why it's got harder, for sure. Maybe not necessarily harder. That's the wrong way to describe it. But yeah, it's certainly got a lot faster, right? Now, let's move on to something that you may have missed at the weekend. Chido Obi Martin made his debut for the under-18s. Long awaited. I think he came on for the last 20 minutes or so. Thereabouts. And United won 4-3. Jim Thwaites with an 87th minute winner. Hell of a game. Under 18s, that's 6 from 6. I think they've scored 24 goals in the process. Under 18s, man, they are just shining. To win the treble last season, and then the likes of Finley McAllister going up into the first team environment. Ethan, not first team, the under 21s environment. Some other players making that move up as well. So the under 18s have lost quite a few players that they had last season. Gained some because Ibrahimov's come in. Shea Lacey's returned from injury. But yeah, Bendito Mantato, he got a brace. Jim Thwaite with the winner. Obi Martin making his debut. Samuel Lascelles also making his debut. We signed him from Crystal Palace in the summer. Still waiting on Sekou Kone. And I think Manchester United are really just handling in that slowly, measuring it slowly, giving him seemingly 2 months just to become accustomed to, okay, you're not living in Mali anymore. You're living in Manchester. This is your new club. These are your surroundings. Get used to it. Maybe work on, I don't know if he speaks English. I don't know how much he speaks English, but I'm sure he can learn and improve on that, make himself feeling comfortable in his new environment before he gets thrown into playing football. But I can't imagine that Sekou Kone debut is going to be that far away. But Lascelles made his debut. Obi Martin's made his debut. Soon to be Sekou Kone as well, which is good. Right, let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments. Well, Sam, football is softer now. Referee protects players more. I mean, the tackles you used to be able to get away with are nuts compared to now. There's just more scrutiny. There's more camera angles. As much as I say the game's sped up, the game is slowed down by VAR. The game is slowed down by watching everything from 6 angles to perfect the decision that you still manage to get wrong so often. It's ridiculous. What else is he saying down here? Sam, do you think Ten Hag United should introduce a sports psychologist? Little pub quiz question. Does anyone remember the name of the sports psychologist that Ralf Rangnick brought in? You're not going to win a prize because I haven't got any prizes. Just a random question. Because I remember when he came in, I was like, my word, do we need one of those? Don't particularly think it made any difference because Ralf Rangnick, as good as a football mind he was, Ralf Rangnick wasn't the right manager for us that season. Still think he should have been given it. Well, let's move on from that one. It wasn't Roy Keane. That's pretty good, actually, Josh. Can he feel good? I'll give you that. Alex, fair play. Now, if you didn't cheat on that, then you got it. Sasha Lense. I don't know why I remember that name. That was back in the... Should we get Guido? We should get Guido back in his channel. I need to get, at some point, I need to just go get drunk with Guido. Let's have a few beers. That'd be fun. But yeah, it was Sasha Lense. We certainly need a psychologist in again now. Woo-wee. Now, I'll tell you what my lunchtime video might be today, ladies and gents. This. So an article dropped from The Athletic this morning, giving some real insight into exactly what Van Nistelrooy is doing in the training ground, what Hake is doing, what Ten Hag is doing, what the delegation is between the coaching staff, who's in charge of what, and where does the responsibility lie. I'm going to read through it in full, and I might do a video off the back of it because I think this is the sort of information that a lot of United fans constantly ask. Is like, what actually happens in training? Like, who's in charge of what? I think this will offer some insight into that. So I might do that in my lunchtime video today. Or I might do a video on Hojlund. But that also would be fine to do on Thursday. Because tomorrow's going to be the starting 11 video for Fenerbahce. So I'll decide, right? I'll decide. Anti-psychology, ridiculous. These players are so weak mentally. Dude. When it comes to modern football and the psychological and mental strains are so much bigger and heightened than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Why is that? Social media. Back in the day, if you want to go back to the Busby Babes, you might bump into Duncan Edwards getting on the bus back from the training ground. Right? That's how safe it was. That was the only sort of interaction you would have with players other than going to watch what they're doing. And progressively, that's increased and increased and increased. Now, that's given players opportunities to build their own brands, to earn more money than they ever could before. But it also puts a spotlight on every single part of their entire life, 24/7. And that carries its own mental strain and pressure because you can't ever really switch off. Unless you're in your own home and you're safe. But then people still do Instagram videos and live videos from there. So it's like every part of an athlete's life now is monetizable. And some go too far. And it takes a mental strain. And that's why you got to balance what's good for you financially versus what's good for you mentally. And I don't think footballers do that all the time. Anyway. Right, let's wrap this one up. I'm going to start waffling. Who will I start? Everyone get in your comments. Last couple of minutes of the show. Please do drop a like on the video. It makes a big difference. I always forget to ask that. I'm really rubbish with this. Who do you start left wing and right wing currently, says Walter. Could you really look past Rashford and Garnacho right now? You mean you can have Ahmad there as well, but I don't personally think so. Maybe that Ahmad in the number 10 could work. That could well work. What are we saying down here? I think the coaching video is urgently needed, says Finn. But someone else down there, BSJC, you're saying Hojlund video 100%. Wow. I'm going to have to make a choice then. Carl saying, Sam, do you think the club are teaching social media skills to academy players? Man, these are life lessons that these players have to learn. In the same way they need life lessons for how to handle money. Because they're going to be getting a lot of money far earlier than players ever would before. But yeah, the social media opens up the world of opportunities to all players, to all of us. Like, the reason we exist here is because of social media, because of the growth of the internet, and it allows fan communities like this to exist all around the world, and I love it. But that's not to say it doesn't come with its downfalls. And as a player for Manchester United, just the scrutiny on everything you do is to the nth degree. And that's why Erik ten Hag has always spoken about, to be a United player, like, you have to live it, you have to breathe it, you have to eat well, you have to sleep well. Everything you do outside of football has to be for the benefit of your football. Whereas back in the day, you could go out and have 4 pints of lager and a packet of Nobby's nuts. Nobby's nuts. Remember those? And you still might be sound of the weekend. George Best was an alcoholic and the best player in the world. That's never going to happen again. All right. And you're saying, personally, I think all public players' social media should be club run and controlled. Well, that's never going to happen. Nor do I think it should. That would be authoritarian. You need that's insane. But anyway, let's wrap this one up. Thank you very much for all tuning in, as always. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please do drop a like on the video. It makes a big difference. Yeah, I think my lunchtime video might be on the coaching. That I'd like to get more insight on the coaching side of things. So I think you would too. But if not, it'll be on Hojlund. All right. I will see you for the lunchtime video, and I will see you tomorrow morning for the live show. If any big news breaks, you may well see me again. Take it easy.